What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Thrifty back with Thrifty PS Gamer Reviews. This is the long mentioned, if you've been on my live streams, review of Diablo 2 Resurrected. Uh, if you haven't watched it yet, I gave a video of my history with Diablo as a franchise, and this video I really wanted to go over Diablo 2. And so, Diablo 2 is a very thrifty title now. It is down around the $15 mark, and you can find it on sale quite regularly. I think 15 to 19 is about where I see it when it goes on sale. Let's talk about it though. Is it fun? Is it good? If you're new to Diablo, is this a good place to start? Let's dive in, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Like, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get going. So, Diablo 2 came out in 2000. Yes, that is a long time ago, and it was only available on PC. Super sad for us console players, but they then gave us Resurrected so many years later. And I know the first question you might have is this game super different from the original? What did they fix? What did they do? What did they mess up? And guys, they didn't mess with anything, really. They gave it a fresh coat of paint. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they even used the original code from the game and changed it with graphical enhancements. And I think that's the case because actually there's a feature in the game that lets you kind of go back to that retro style, that retro look, the old graphics. And I'll be honest, as a huge fan of Diablo 1, that was really fun. I think I played the entire jungle area in the old style. It was super cool. But the new style also adds some really fun features, like 60 frames per second, like cool looking fire animations, and when you're the sorceress, and you're casting your electric spells, they're so vibrant and they pop and they light up everything. The way they did the lighting in this was awesome. And I would honestly argue that the tech in this game makes it look a little crisper and a little better than Diablo 3. And so, you might be getting into this franchise just now because Diablo 4 is released and you're like, dang it, I kind of missed the boat on it. I can play these past titles. Should I start with Diablo 2? And on my recommendation, I would say yes. But I would also say that Diablo 2 is a harder one to start with than Diablo 3. And the reason I say that is because there are certain builds in the game that you can do with your characters within the leveling up system that just work a whole lot better than others do, or than just kind of going with what you like. So one of the downsides to the game is that if you want to play it in the way of a min-maxer, like I am in most of these type of games, then you're going to want to get online, you're going to have to do a little bit of research, and that just is what it is. But I will say this, there is a best build archetype for each character. Some of them have 2 or 3 best builds, but for the most part, you will find anything you need online. So it's just a little bit of research as you're leveling up. One of the other downsides about the game is that the reason why it's so important to make sure you're leveling up quote-unquote correctly is because the game only gives you 3 skill resets. Now, there is a way where you can do more and purchase infinites, and it requires a separate account, and once again, or not a separate account, a separate character, but once again, you can figure all that out online. But base game, the way it was structured to be played, that gives you 1 per difficulty. And so if you mess up royally and you're like, man, I have too many things in one area, not enough things in another, well, then you're going to be sitting there using that reset, and then after that you'll be stuck. So Pay attention to that. That's why sometimes for new Diablo players or new fans of the franchise or new people trying to get into it, I sometimes don't recommend Diablo 2 if they're not kind of willing to do a little bit of legwork. It's not a ton. You can get on your phone and you can pull it up. It's super easy. I actually have one of the builds saved for my own sorceress character that I'm running right now. There is offline and online mode. Now, don't get confused with this. It's still going to try to connect you to it's still going to connect you to BattleNet servers. So like, even if you play offline, you're playing offline connected to the server. So it's really interesting the way they do that. But it does have an offline mode. The offline mode is a whole lot more stable than the online mode, obviously. But some of the rubber banding issues are still present a couple years now after launch, and so I don't think they're ever really going to fix those. That is one of the downsides of the game, is that when you're in multiplayer, there is a little bit of rubber banding. There's also a little bit of like, you're hitting, nothing is registering, and then all of a sudden the enemy is a few feet away from you on the screen. So there are some things that are not perfect about the game. But one of the things that Diablo has always done well, and Diablo 2 has taken this to the 1000th degree, is their looting system. My goodness, the looting system in this, it's fun. You don't buy things from shops, you find them. The best gear you get is going to be from going out and killing things and taking their stuff. And it's going to be fun. You always have stuff to do. It's one of the things I like about it. The inventory management in this, with the loading times being next to nothing, is not near as bad as it was when I was playing Diablo 1. But it is very limited still. So there is a resource management, and inventory space is one of the resources. So with that, you will kind of have to get used to fighting a section, fighting a couple sections, picking up the stuff, and then going back through a town portal, back to town to sell it off, restock your potions, and then go back in. It has a really good loop that way. But the loop is also really fun. So games like this that require a lot of resource management and inventory management, the loop has to be fun. Because if you take a break from it, go sell all your stuff, go back, and then have to jump back in, and you're like, oh man, now I gotta go fight all these enemies and do this all over again. That becomes a slog. But when it's fun and the combat is engaging, it becomes, oh man, let me go do this real quick, I'll hop back in, and we'll go back at it. Your whole mindset kind of changes. It's a tonal change in how you play the game when that loop is fun. And so previously I did a review of Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, and I had like 8 hours into that game. And the only reason I stuck with it for as long as I did was because the combat's really fun in that game. And so like, there are certain games that have elements that I'm not a fan of, but because the loop is so good, or because the sound is so good, or the combat, or the game is gorgeous, like, there's always something that keeps you there. So, with that, the game is awesome. There is a wonderful story to it that connects in to the first game, and there's several videos on YouTube that you can go and watch to kind of connect from the first story, and it'll like give you a brief synopsis. There's some that are 20 minutes, there's some that are an hour, but like, it depends on how deep you want to go into the previous lore that led up to Diablo 2. You start out as basically a champion, okay? You are sent to help. You end up in the town of Sanctuary, and your first mission kind of is to go rescue a character, to go find a character. And that kind of sets you off on this journey that leads you through the gates of hell into several different regions. There's a desert region, there's a forest region, kind of a plains. There's a mountainous region, I believe. There's the caves. There's tons of dungeons throughout. There's tons of caverns. Like, you will never get bored in this game. That's why I've beaten it with 2 characters and I'm working on my 3rd. Like, you will never ever get bored with this game. It's a game that you can have, spend 15, 20 bucks on it, get it, play it, put it down, and go right back to it a couple months later. It is one of those games that I go back to often. And I bought it when it came out at full price. And so this is one of those games. And it is a game that I think, if you can find it on sale and maybe you're on the fence about it, you will not be disappointed. And so with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you enjoyed all the different talking points. I kind of did this one more freestyle than I normally do. Normally I break it down into categories. Let me know down in the comments, do you like the categories better, or do you like when I just kind of freestyle it this way and kind of link everything together? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also lets me know that you stayed until the end of the video. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, guys, stay thrifty.